international conference Megacities 2050 Environmental Consequences of Urbanization in Europe was organized as a part of the program Improving the Competitiveness of RUDN University 500 in 2016 and with the support of Erasmus Jean Monnet on the basis of the Agrarian Institute of Technology with the support of Moscow government. Today's conference is devoted to the device of cities for the longer term to 2050. The increasing world population poses a problem how to arrange benefits conditions for living residents of large cities and tries to solve it. It's very pleased that the base of the conference was elected the new Moscow as the most urbanized city in the Russian Federation and of the world. And the new Moscow is trying to provide the questions that need to be addressed in the future to ensure that the landscape and settlement of the population correspond to those requirements which are necessary for its well-being and good living in the future. The purpose of the conference is quite broad. Firstly, to unite their efforts in the research area and to participate together in various grants offered the international community and involving scientists not only from RUDN but also our colleagues from Moscow State University and other institutes and universities of Russia. It is very important that the international conference is not only a scientific focus, scientific consortium, scientific discussion, but there are also participate the administration, business organizations that are engaged in landscaping and gardening areas and students who are the future. Those guys who in a few years will come to the city and will do the same green construction and improve the world in which we live, make a miracle. Because when megacity actually developed, then are built and refined streets, parks, and people get a better life. The conference precedes the research, teaches students, brings together the executive power and business, and brings together students to megacities in the world, and particularly in Russia, to be better. In the conference were participated world-famous experts and scientists, leading specialists in the field of ecology, soil science, landscape design, and sustainable development of the territories of the leading world and Russian universities, institutes, and organizations, such as the University of Wageningen, Netherlands, City University of New York, USA, Tuscia University, Italy, National Research Council, Italy, Lomonosov Moscow State University, Russian Tymyrazov State Agrarian University, Petropolitana University, St. Petersburg State Forest Technical University under name of Kirov, the State Russian Museum, the Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture of St. Petersburg, Prefecture of the Troitsky and the Novomoskovsky administrative districts of Moscow. Working language of the conference was English.
I would like to focus especially on the problems of pollution that, for instance, traffic industries, especially centralized in a place like in a big city, can exacerbate. So if we take, for instance, pollution, that can be different compartments. We can have in the water, we can have in the air, we can have in the soil, and we consider that people live together in the city and have to cope with these pollutants. We have to find solutions, and that's why we are meeting here to find possible ways, and we try to teach, especially to the young students we have in the audience, how in the future, in 2050, we should cope with this. And that's what we will say here is to combine natural solutions, like this is a big question mark for the European Commission, to find natural-based solutions for the future, how to cope with the problems, especially environmental problems, pollution and not only, but also technical engineering. So we have to combine different things together, so that in the future we can think to live in a better cities. That's our big goal. If we consider that cities like Moscow, but it's not the only one in the world, are growing and growing. So we have to find natural solution to have better life.
During the conference were organized 5 specialized sections and 3 roundtables. One of the roundtables was devoted to discussion of cooperation in the scientific and educational spheres.
Today we have to work in team. We have to work with the multidisciplinary approaches because the solutions are complex. And the complexity of the problems can be solved only with an holistic approach, so an approach that takes into account different aspects. So, for example, I work in Italy. We have created, as a group of university, a center of excellence to address exactly climate change problems and policies, so energy and waste and renewable energies. And we have put together economists, ecologists, people working with climate scenarios, engineers, because it's the scale of our challenge today. We cannot solve problem in one discipline. We have to really work all together. This university has a big advantage, maybe compared to other universities in Russia. There are a lot of nationalities, first of all, and there are also different disciplines that are together. If we put together all these different disciplines and work together for green solutions, I think this university can become really an important and visible center of excellence for solving this problem.
In particular, was discussed joint application of RUDN University invited European universities and prefecture of the Troitsky and Novomoskovsky administrative districts of Moscow for participation in Europe Research Grants Program of Horizon 2020. This is a powerful and big experiment to joining the Troitsky and the Novomoskovsky administrative districts to the Moscow city. The territory, which exceeds about 2.5 times the area of the megacity territory. Of course, this is an experiment that deserves everyone's attention, since it was implemented various projects of the Moscow government, including the project which provides for the establishment in the area prosperous urban ecosystems that would provide comfortable living conditions of inhabitants in the territory of New Moscow. Of course, in this session there are various issues related to the order to carry out this task set by Sergei Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow. Order to life in the new territories, it was comfortable and pleasant for our residents. We are faced with the problems that characterize its features. It is the presence of high-rise housing and low-rise housing. This combination, for example, of residential areas and agricultural lands. It is the presence of a large number of green areas, green spaces, and all these require attention and care on the part of the authorities and the residents. Urbanization is the most important global trend of our time. According to forecasts of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, more than 70% of the world's population will live in cities by 2050.
Urban population has increased considerably, has overcome the rural population. So this is putting some problems in the society. If we cannot stop this movement from the countryside to the cities, we have to make people aware that if they go to the cities, they probably have to change a little bit their minds. They have to contribute to improve their environments. That's something that we do as scientists. We try to suggest, we try to give some guidelines, for instance, how they could behave. We could go from very easy things, that's of course increasing public transportation or bicycles, things like that. But also doing something for the environment means, for instance, planting trees, for instance. That's something that we are suggesting a lot. We are looking at several cities in the world that are putting a lot of money in this, because planting a tree means investing in the future of the environment, in the future of the society, and that means overall improvement of the quality of life, improvement of well-being.
How will the rapid urbanization affect in coming decades on European countries? What are the environmental consequences of the megacities' growth in Europe? Megacities 2050 Environmental Consequences of Urbanization in Europe was aimed to discuss these key issues.
Cities are growing and more people are going into the city, and we have more and more megacities as well. And so all these megacities have share, common, challenges basically, and common, problems that we all can help to make it more sustainable down the road. I think it's the student in the auditorium here today, and all the other students, other generations that we can rely upon to carry the torch to make the city more sustainable and livable. Basically, we have to do a lot of things, and I think students will learn quite a lot from this whole conference.
Megacities are complex environmental systems whose components, air, surface water, soil and vegetation, are significantly different from the background areas. The negative impacts of human pressures on the environment are key issues of urban agroecology and environmental regulation.
Despite all of those efforts, there's definitely a large print on the climate impact, the environmental impact of urbanization we have to start thinking a little bit more sustainably. So we've come from all different perspectives on the environment, and it is, I think, the key take-home message from this conference is that as we all strive to make better decisions for the future, really the key in doing that well is to collaborate. As long as we can stand on the same platform and work together to stitch these ideas and new research and really come together and work together, no one city can become the master of the solution for the global issue of urbanization. We all have to work together on the same plane to really solve that problem. In New York, I can speak a little bit selfishly from the perspective of the Urban Soils Institute that started last year. I think that is something we can offer as an idea, perhaps as a model for other cities to adopt. If we can establish an Urban Soils Institute in every city that already standardizes a platform, we can have common conversations, share research, write papers, and make a global awareness on our precious resource soils, which plays a very important role in environmental impacts and climate change and so on.
In European countries has accumulated many years of experience in monitoring, forecasting and assessment of urbanization environmental risks. First task of the conference is the discussion of the most advanced methods and approaches to analysis of megacities' environmental problems. No less important task is to search solutions of urbanization consequences and development strategy of environmentally sustainable cities. On the conference was discussed the most successful approaches and experiences of sustainable development of urban ecosystems, including the creation of green infrastructure, waste management, purification of surface water, and remediation of urban soils.